Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Claret and Blue podcast. I'm Matt Kendrick and I'm joined by a special guest this week who's going to give us a little bit of insight into what it's like to, I suppose, report on the mighty Aston Villa for Hospital Radio. I'm joined by Mick McGough. Thanks, first of all, Mick, for giving up. I know you're a master of giving up your time for charitable causes, but you've given up your time to help me natter about the Villa today. So welcome along. Let's kick off, first of all. It sounds like, I say, the dream job. I know you're doing this kind of on a voluntary basis out of the goodness of your heart, but it sounds like you've landed quite a good gig.
Yeah, well, it's very strange, really, because I used to run a youth football club. And when it came to presentation day, Tom Ross used to come along and present the trophies. And, you know, I got to know him over the seasons. And I just, one day, I just said, how did you get into this? And he says, oh, I started at hospital radio. I used to, volunteer and do hospital radio. And I went, oh, that's fantastic. And I said, oh, is it still going, hospital radio? I never knew anything, about hospital radio. And he said, yeah, it's BHBM radio, based at the QE hospital in Birmingham. And, they're always looking for volunteers, contact them. So I did. And they called me in. Now, I'm in my day job. I'm actually an IT consultant. So, and I went to the studio and they were looking for some help with their IT at the time. So I went into the studio and I was, talking to the technical guy there, and over the speakers, I heard this commentary from a football game, and I thought, oh, is that Radio 5 Live? He went, no, it's our commentators at the ground. And I went, wow, it just sounds brilliant. I said, I'd love to do that. And he said, well, if you want to, we'll get you on. And I always remember, I think, I went to matches and I was nervous as hell, and I was with one of these experienced guys. And, we did quite a few Villa games at the time, and he was doing all the commentating, and I was just sort of a bit of punditry sort of thing. I remember this guy left and they said, right, Mike, you're going to the Villa. You're doing the commentary. And that's how it went. And it was learning as you go along. And, I watched other people in the press box, what they were doing, and that's the way it happens. And it's all about prep. Anything you do podcasts, you do anything, going and doing the matches, it's all about getting as much information as you can about, the two teams, about the players, and about, the game itself. And just, I can spend 2 or 3 hours preparing for a game. Yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, it's voluntary, and I was always a season ticket at the Villa, but once I started doing this, I gave my season ticket up because I never needed it. Because 9 times out of 10, I do get the Villa games, but being up in the press and mixing with the guys there, it's a good experience. Even though sometimes, I went to the Arsenal game as a fan. Oh, and it was so enjoyable in the away end. And, I went there, and actually I got interviewed by a podcaster on the way in, an Arsenal podcaster. And he was asking me what I thought the score would be. And I said, if we can get away with a 2-0 loss, I'll probably take it. And, to come away winning that game in the style we did was just tremendous. I think it's one of the best away days I've had for a very, very long time.
So talk us through, you've probably done it the other way around to me, because I used to be in the press box when I was the reporter for the Mail, and now I'm sat a little bit above you in the Trinity on my season ticket. So I'm getting to shout and chant and all this kind of stuff, whereas you've probably got to be on your best behaviour in the press box. What's it like then? What's a day in the life like if you, let's say you've got a game at Villa Park? I know the rarities now, but a 3:00 kickoff at Villa Park. What does a day in the life look like in terms of what time you rock up, what you have to do, what what time you're on air, and all those kind of things?
Yeah, well, typical, say 3:00 kickoff. Obviously, we've got to go and pick up the equipment. The equipment's at the studio at the QE. So if you don't pick it up before, you've got to go to the QE, pick up the equipment. We usually get to the ground 2 hours before, and then we set up the equipment, make sure it works. And then we wait for the person to come in the studio. The live show in the studio starts at 1:00, say, for a 3:00 kickoff. So they'd connect to us, we test, they can hear us, they do some checks, sound checks. And then we'd go and relax for a bit, go and check our notes, read the programme, have something to eat. And then you wait for the team sheets. So yeah, then from once you get the team sheet, you start looking at the formations. I every commentator has their own methodology, but we would I would have I like to position the players in the thirds of the pitch. I don't have to do it for Villa. Obviously, I know where they are. I know who they are. But if it's a team I'm not familiar with, I'd put the positions. I'd write something about the player in maybe number of tackles, number of goals, or number of interceptions. I'd write some statistic about that player next to him as well, and his number, and his position on the pitch. Because from where we're commenting, it's not a great commentary position from the Villa actually, because it's by the tunnel.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the pitch like that, and sometimes at the far end, if there's a crowd around, you don't know who's got the ball. So but you get used to, you look for boots, colour of the boots, hairstyle, if you're not familiar with the player, and the number if you can see it, and you do a bit of prep for that. And it comes up about 2:45. You go down, sit down, check the studio again, and they'll introduce you usually as the players come out, and we'll do the teams. We'll introduce ourselves. If it's a cup game or a league game or whatever, and we'll go through the teams, the formations. We'll have some stats of if it's the 100th time these teams have played, what the head-to-head is, and we'll do stuff like that. And then once the kick-off, we're live into the hospitals, and if there's always two of us anyway. Usually, me and Alan, we interchange a lot, but usually you'd do the first 20 minutes of commentary, and then we'd hand over, and you just do a bit of punditry then. And then you have a rest, and that's the way we do it.
How much of a service would hospital radio provide? Would it be on there for like 10 hours throughout the day, or is it on in the evenings, or not specifically sport, but in terms of if you switch on your radio, if you're in a hospital and you switch on your radio, how often will the service be there?
It's 24 hours, but it's live shows will only be. It depends on what presenters we've got, but they'll have the schedule. I'm not too sure what the schedule is today, but there'll be a schedule of live shows, and then obviously it'll switch to a recording after that, because people do pre-recorded shows. In fact, BHBN have just won Station of the Year, but I think it's the third year in a row. And what gives us the kudos over other stations is that we do a sports show. Not a lot of hospital stations do it. And it's only because we've got some sponsorship to do that, because we have to pay for the lines into the grounds and all this kind of stuff. Equipment's very expensive, as you know. That's the way it works. And it's an amazing setup. I mean, when I first went in the studio, I was just in awe of it. I mean, the guys that are running it, Colin and Dave, they've been there for 50 odd years, and it's their baby, and it's so professional. I mean, we usually get a lot of graduates coming, media graduates, and you get guys like me who, are older and already got a career. So I do it for fun, and I just enjoy doing it.
Do you get feedback from kind of either people who are in patients who are staying in hospital, or their relatives who have heard it and stuff? Do you feel that you're kind of making that difference, and you are bringing a little bit of light to people who are obviously going through difficult times?
Yeah. I mean, recently, because at the Blues, we don't do this at the Villa, but at the Blues, we do sight impaired commentary. So the guys they put on a special headset, and they hear our commentary. And just recently, we've had some very good feedback from them saying, the commentary is fantastic. Even though at the Blues, they're probably the games are not great at the moment, but they love the commentary, and that's a service, an extra service we provide at Birmingham City for the sight impaired guys there. And we do get feedback. I personally don't see it, but they will put it out, and as I say, we use that. And the fact that the station I work for have won this award 3 times in for the last 3 years, it just shows you, because the competition is tough. There's a lot of hospital radios throughout the country running, and there's a lot of good people doing it. And we always seem to come away with the award. If you ever want to listen to it, there's an app. There's bhbn.net. Look for the app. You can go in and listen at any time.
I don't suppose, having established yourself a career in IT, I don't suppose until 8 or 9 years ago you would have envisaged kind of reinventing yourself as a commentator. Would you? Has it been hard work? Do you find yourself, if you're listening in the car to Talk Sport or 5 Live or WM or whatever it might be, or you're watching Sky Sports, do you find yourself watching that with a kind of almost like a professional ear now in terms of the way that other people do it?
Yeah, 100%. And the reason, I don't know whether I was a natural really, because I remember when I used to just watch TV before I came into this, and I used to say things to the TV that the commentators would then say, a few seconds later. And my partner, my wife, she would say, "Oh, you should do this because you just, you've got it." And it's funny, I still do that now, but it's amazing because I like TalkSport. I listen to TalkSport all the time, and Sam Matterface, he's one of the guys I try and emulate a lot. He's very knowledgeable, and he comes across quite well as well. So yeah, I listen to all the commentary, Radio 5 Live. I always pick the commentary game up. It doesn't matter who it is, and I just listen to the way they do it, and even on the TV, sometimes I watch it without the sound on because you can do it yourself. Yeah. But then you like to listen to what they're saying, to what you're thinking. Well, what are certain circumstances, I think, what would I have said in that moment? And what have they said? And it's different. You have to appreciate as well. It's different when someone's watching the game and you're commentating, where someone's just listening to the game. Yeah. It's quite different because when they're commentating on a live game that you can see, you can have little pauses and let the game let the pictures tell it. On the radio, you can't do that. So you've always got to describe what you're seeing.
I was going to ask. It's probably a silly question to ask, but obviously you don't know the patients that you're broadcasting to. I presume there could be, say quite an age range potentially, but quite a range of ailments as well. I mean, are you under any instructions, like if there's a penalty shootout or if there's something tense, or you've got old Jeff on this ward here who's just had a triple heart bypass? So do you know what I mean? Are you allowed to kind of be as excitable as you wish, or what's the directive that you get given?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because obviously, the penalty shootout the other night. I mean, obviously we weren't doing that, but the playoff final. I remember doing a playoff final, and you do wonder. I mean, my heart's pumping, and I'm there. So you're right. People in the hospitals, I don't know whether they get instructions to turn off at some stage, but I think what you hope is that you give them a bit of joy, and it's taking their mind off whatever they're in there for half an hour or whatever it is. They listen to the show, and I think that's what you hope really. But yeah, it's funny you should say that because I think all the commentators at work we feel the same. We're broadcasting out today, and if it was if they're a Villa fan, and like the other day, I did a Newcastle game. I mean, they thumped us, didn't they? I was thinking, go for your hospital. You want cheering up. This is not going to help at all. It's But then again, we go and beat Man City and Arsenal, and you're thinking, they might be running around the bed, But yeah, you're right. It's we don't know. I think a lot of our audience is for Sally Oak, and it's the military hospital. Yeah. So we get a lot of the lads in there, military, and we're not too sure. They could be fans from anywhere, couldn't they? Yeah. But they probably like the live game. I don't know. So a lot of them. And this is what we're competing with, you see. It's free. Our commentary is free to them. They want to listen to normal radio. They have to pay in the hospital these days. Right. But a lot of people bring their phones in, and you can watch Sky Sports or whatever on your phone these days if it's a live match on TV. Yeah. We probably get a bigger audience if the game's not on TV, a local game that's not on TV.
are you able to be biased toward? If you're covering Villa, are you able to be biased towards Villa? Are you? If you're covering Blues, do you know what I mean? Are you almost reporting and commentating for a local audience and on the side of our club, I presume, or do you have to be kind of straight down the middle, impartial?
Oh no, we're biased, 100%. Yeah, because we're a local radio, so yeah, we're biased to local teams. I mean, yeah, the Villa, yeah, it's like listening to WM, I guess. I mean, yeah, we're biased towards the local team, definitely, and that's how it should be. Local radio, we give us. I mean, we commentate and we'll say, if we see it's a vast decision and it's a penalty, we'll say, yeah, it's a penalty. We'll say as it is, but we'll say Villa are playing badly, but yeah, most of the time it's very. I mean, they know we're Villa fans. The audience that listen, certainly me and Alan, they know we're both Villa fans, and we're reporting on the Villa. So, and when Villa score, you can hear it depends on who's commentating. You can usually hear Alan, go yes, or in the background. So yeah, and I think that's part of the joy of it. Really, people want to feel as if they're almost in the crowd. Do
you get to go to like the press conferences at the end and listening to Unai?
Yeah, in fact, I got told off at the Villa, and this is a story for you, because I didn't realise, because we're not written press, we're not allowed to ask any questions. Right. So it was Gerrard was there, and I cannot remember the game, but I remember Emi Buendia came on, played brilliant as he always did when he brought him on, and I said to Gerrard, I said, "What's Emi Buendia got to do to get in this team?" And he was not happy. And he said, "Well, you don't know what happens at training and, how fit he is." And it went out in the written press, picked it up. And I never mentioned my name, obviously, but they said, he was asked this question and he didn't like it at all. And his press guy, Tom, he had a word with the radio station and said, "You cannot ask any more questions." So I do, yeah, we do go to the press conferences, and I have to bite my tongue all the time because there's questions I want to ask, but I'm not allowed to. So yeah, but I always remember that one. Yeah,
I mean, it's been a pleasure and a privilege for most Villa fans to watch this team as it's evolved, and I know it's been a particular kind of privilege for you to be the man with the mic who's been able to commentate, and it's been a privilege to have you on telling us the story of it, Mick. Because you know, I've been knocking around the scene as a fan and as a reporter for many years, but I've never had an insight quite into the way that kind of Birmingham Hospital Radio operates, the way that you've given us today. And what I'll do, I'll try and leave a link in the comments if people want to find out more about the service that you guys provide and how if they've got relatives or friends that are in hospital who would like to kind of get involved in listening to it, we'll try and spread the word for you, because you really are doing great things, and
excellent.
Let's hope that Villa do the job and make sure this is a truly memorable season.
Yeah, well, I'll keep on listening to you and the guys on the podcast because it's brilliant, and I love listening in, and it's been a pleasure this year, that's for sure. It's been a lot of positive moments, and it's a good listen. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it.
No, brilliant. Well, you've been listening to Claret Blue Podcast with me, Matt Kendrick, and our special guest, Mick McGough. Until next time, up the Villa.